Speaking of moments, you've been, as you mentioned, your career with the Fever. First six, though, were tough, obviously. They weren't as easy. You guys have made the playoffs the last two. What's been the big turnaround? How have you viewed the way the team has grown organically?
In a league buzzing with noise, one voice just cut through it all, Kelsey Mitchell. The veteran heart of the Indiana Fever was asked about Caitlin Clark. Her answer wasn't just another soundbite. It was a truth bomb that sent shockwaves through the WNBA. Mitchell, the player who endured years of losses for this team, finally gave her unfiltered take on the rookie phenomenon. But what she said wasn't simple praise. It was a complex, powerful statement that has fans and insiders debating, was this a loyal teammate showing respect, or a seasoned veteran drawing a line in the sand? What's really happening inside that Fever locker room is far more interesting than anyone realizes.
And then you bring in Caitlin, who changed the world, changed the dynamic of basketball. And as a friend and as a player, you grow to appreciate her because, certain doors have opened because she's come to the Fever, and you have to respect that. And I love the teammate and person in her because she's accepted it with so much grace and even welcomed us with open arms to, make this thing happen. So I think it just took a lot of big pieces to make, what it.
To truly understand the weight of Mitchell's words, you have to understand the journey of the woman who spoke them. Kelsey Mitchell isn't just another name on the Indiana Fever roster. She is the franchise's survivor. For years, she was the lone flame flickering in the dark, dragging Indiana through seasons so bleak they were practically unwatchable. This is the same Mitchell who carried a roster that won just 5 games in an entire season. The same Mitchell who endured a revolving door of coaches while opponents treated games against Indiana as a night off, a chance to pad stats and rest their stars.
You've changed the world in so many ways. You've done it with so much grace. And I'm so happy to take the floor with you, to be a part of this experience. I want to tell you to give yourself some grace, kid. You've done a lot of things that not a lot of people can do. And from me to you, I'm always going to be a fan. I'm always going to be in your corner. I'm always going to be in your backcourt.
She was the one who had to shoulder the losses, deliver the polite cliches to the press, and pretend there were building blocks after another 24-point blowout. That was her reality. She wasn't just playing basketball, she was pushing a boulder uphill every single night. So when she finally opens up about Caitlin Clark, it's not just lip service. This isn't a hollow, she's great, she helps the team type of soundbite. Mitchell isn't in the business of rehearsed PR fluff. What she gave us was raw, authentic, and sharpened by years of surviving in the league's basement.
But you've been with Indiana through the thick and thin. You've been with them since, we was talking, we about to go get our rhythm on Indiana. You've been there, you stuck through until now being in the semifinals. What does that feel like? And for people watching, girls, boys, if they athletes, not athletes, what does it feel like to stick through something and now see it come into full fold?
And the result. She validated what everyone can see, but few have dared to say out loud. Caitlin Clark hasn't just changed the Fever, she's transformed the entire basketball ecosystem. Mitchell's exact words hit like a tectonic plate shift. She said, Clark has changed the world, changed the dynamic of basketball itself.
You guys have made the playoffs the last two. What's been the big turnaround? How have you viewed the way the team has grown organically?
Oh, man, I think a big shout out to the organization taking time to rebuild. I think our draft picks ended up coming big. Lexi Hall was a big draft pick, and then you get Kaylin, and then you get AB. And so you culminate that together with, my experience and having to, go through a couple of things before they got there. I think it was just like a match made in heaven, really, because I was, still at a young age to really, vibe and get to know these players for who they were. And then you bring in Caitlin, who changed the world, changed the dynamic of basketball. And as a friend and as a player, you grow to appreciate her because, certain doors have opened because she's come to the Fever, and you have to respect that.
Let that sink in for a moment. That's not a compliment. That's a seismic admission from the one player who could have easily been bitter. The cornerstone of the Fever, the one who fought through irrelevance and pain, looked into the camera and essentially said, without Caitlin, none of this happens. The sellouts, the primetime games, the international coverage, all of it.
Now, you were an MVP finalist this year with our own Chiney Ogwumike even saying that you had the best season of any guard this year in the league. What has it been like to get that kind of recognition and get your flowers?
Oh, I appreciate it. I've been to a lot throughout the course of my career with the Indiana Fever. It's been like my longest, ever. So it's for me, it's a humbling experience to kind of see myself make waves from where it started to where it is now, and just kind of respect the game, lean on the game as far as like creating bonds and friendships. And now you get to see us do that now, like a couple years later.
What makes this even more powerful is the complete absence of jealousy. There was no bitterness in her voice, no passive-aggressive tone, no hint of resentment, just genuine respect. That's what makes Kelsey Mitchell's words so rare and refreshing. And she didn't diminish herself in the process either. This wasn't surrender, this was balance. She reminded everyone, subtly but firmly, that before Caitlin's arrival, she was the one carrying the franchise.
Oh man, it's an unbelievable experience. It's a moment that I don't want to, take for granted. I want to cherish it as much as I possibly can. Like I said, I want to use this moment to as a moment to not grow. And so hopefully the mental preparation that I've been through and the things I've been through can kind of help me get through these moments. And then just, loving basketball for what it is and just, loving the game and having fun with it.
She was the one grinding through the worst years, laying the foundation so Clark had a platform to stand on when she arrived. And that is an undeniable truth. While the league ignored Indiana, while other players padded their resumes against them, Mitchell was the one powering the franchise's identity. She wasn't just keeping the lights on, she was the generator keeping the whole building from shutting down.
I love the teammate and person in her because she's accepted it with so much grace and even welcomed us with open arms to, make this thing happen. So I think it just took a lot of big pieces to make, what it is now.
What has it been like? Because certainly the world has been focused on her. But
Yeah.
what has it been like as a teammate? Because sometimes people are stepping to her, but I feel like you guys are stepping right back in those situations.
I think it's just it's competitive nature, man. You know how it goes. It's just competitive nature. I think that we want to fight to, love on our team and be who we are and respect the game at the same time. So I think it's a lot of just competitive nature at the end of the day.
Mitchell's recent reflections can't be fully understood without rewinding the Fever's journey. When Lexi Hull first came into the fold, Indiana was still the league's punchline. Wins were rare, losses were routine, and the franchise existed on the margins of relevance. Mitchell was the one smiling through press conferences, fielding questions about building blocks, while the team barely scraped together victories. She had to dress up futility in optimism, knowing full well the weight she was carrying on her shoulders. Then came Aaliyah Boston, the post-powerhouse who offered a glimmer of hope. Her arrival was like planting a flag in a wasteland.
Prior to game one, I saw Caitlin posted she was fined $200 by the league for stepping on the court. So was there like a locker room pool for her there, or did she take care of that herself?
Man. I'm pretty sure somebody took care of it for her. I love it because as much people don't know this about Caitlin, but she has an unbelievable funny sense of humor. And so I think the tweet was the tweet, but you just have to know CC to know that it's just nothing but love coming from that kid, and her energy and her effort to just kind of support our team is just her way of doing it.
Suddenly, Indiana had something that looked like a foundation. And then, of course, came Caitlin Clark, a supernova, who bent not just basketball, but the entire sports media universe to her will. Her presence instantly transformed the Fever from a laughingstock into headline news. Through it all, Mitchell didn't sulk, didn't complain, didn't demand a trade. She adjusted, embraced the reinforcements, and recognized that this was not a threat, but the long overdue change she had been waiting for. That's why her endorsement of Clark carries so much gravity. She's lived both versions of this franchise, and she knows which one sells tickets and shifts culture.
And look, you guys have been plagued with injuries, including to Caitlin,
Yeah.
but you have the best sideline in the league, I feel like, right now. What does it mean to get that support during the postseason from the crew?
Oh man, it's unbelievable. And I think the best part about it is that we have vet experience when it comes to Sydney Carlson, and she's a winner and she's a champion. And then you have people like Caitlin, who's a PG and can pass the ball. And so when I come on the sideline, I get feedback from some of the best players in the league. And so I don't take those moments for granted either, because I feel like it's a chance to see the game in a different route. And I get to, get to talk to them from a level of just them having confidence in me to make plays. So I love it. It's a good experience to have.
But Mitchell's words went further than professional respect. They carried something deeper, more personal. She didn't just call Clark a teammate, she called her a friend. That one word matters more than outsiders realize, because in professional sports, where egos and rivalries often poison chemistry, friend is not a casual label. It's a signal that Clark's integration into this roster has been seamless, even healing. According to Mitchell, Clark didn't just show up to be the star. She showed up to create an environment where everyone could thrive in her orbit. This distinction is critical. We've seen super teams implode in other leagues. Too many stars, too much ego, not enough cohesion, and suddenly, what looked unstoppable collapses under its own hype. Clark has avoided that trap. She doesn't demand to be the sole spotlight. She acts like the sun, radiating light so that everyone else's game shines brighter. One story Mitchell shared illustrates this bond perfectly. The infamous fine tweet. After joking on social media about being fined by the league, Clark's lighthearted jab sent pundits into overdrive. Critics twisted it into arrogance, classlessness, or immaturity. But inside the Fever locker room, it was comedy gold. Players laughed, they loved it, and Mitchell revealed that it showcased Clark's humor, something the public rarely sees through all the pressure and headlines. That story drew a clear line between perception and reality. Outsiders saw controversy, teammates saw character. Mitchell's takeaway was simple: relax. It's just Caitlin being Caitlin, and that's the telltale sign of a healthy locker room. If Clark were resented, that tweet would have ignited drama. Instead, it became another example of team chemistry flourishing under her presence. Which brings us to the most intimidating revelation for the rest of the league, the Fever's emerging Fab Four: Mitchell, Clark, Boston, and Hull. Together, they're not just a playoff team, they're the blueprint for a dynasty. And Mitchell didn't mince words about her commitment. She hinted that she'd take a pay cut if it meant keeping this core intact. In today's sports landscape, where getting the bag is the unspoken rule, that kind of declaration is almost revolutionary. It signals that Mitchell understands the bigger picture. Indiana has something historic on its hands, and she'll sacrifice personally to keep it alive. Why such loyalty? Because Mitchell sees the writing on the wall. The Fever are no longer the league's doormat, they're the storm sweeping through it. With Clark's stardom, Boston's dominance in the post, Hull's grit, and Mitchell's lethal scoring, this team has a foundation drenched in both talent and chemistry. What they're building isn't just about this season's playoff run. It's about creating a culture, rewriting the WNBA hierarchy, and shifting Indiana from punchline to powerhouse. Mitchell's comments then were not just casual praise, they were a manifesto. She was saying in no uncertain terms that Caitlin Clark has fundamentally altered the trajectory of women's basketball, and that she, Kelsey Mitchell, is all in on being part of that revolution. There was no hint of jealousy, no bitterness over the shift in attention. Instead, there was gratitude, motivation, and an unwavering sense of partnership. That's rare in sports, and it's exactly why Indiana feels different right now. The broader WNBA should be terrified because while some veteran players and media personalities spend their time downplaying Clark's impact, Indiana is building something real, something sustainable, something fans can rally around for a generation. Mitchell has declared her allegiance, and it's not to the league's old guard, it's to the future, embodied by Caitlin Clark and a Fever squad ready to dominate. That's not just respect, it's an alliance, and in doing so, she's laid down a gauntlet for the rest of the league. Either acknowledge what's happening in Indiana, or get left behind watching the Fever rewrite history. Because if this core group remains united, the WNBA doesn't just have a contender to deal with, it has a dynasty in the making.